Hi folks, this is Jake. Hope you're okay today. It's good to see you. We're looking at a series of videos on Jesus and the Eyewitness Gospels. Jesus and the Eyewitness, the Gospels as Eyewitness Testimony, Richard Bauckham, 2006, published by Erdman. And we're looking at various quotes by Dr. Bauckham. He says, by comparison with the Gospels, any Jesus reconstructed by the quest, that's the quest for the historical Jesus, cannot fail to be reductionistic from the perspective of Christian theology. He writes, page 4, by comparison with the Gospels, any Jesus reconstructed by the quest cannot fail to be reductionistic from the perspective of Christian faith and theology. That's page 4. He writes, trusting testimony is not an irrational act of faith that leans critical rationality aside. It is, on the contrary, the rationally appropriate way of responding to authentic testimony. Page 4. What Dr. Bauckham's saying there, first of all, I think, is no matter how much these scholars in the academic world look at the historical Jesus, it'll always be reductionistic in the sense that because of Immanuel Kant, there was a split in philosophy between saying, well, what we can believe supernaturally and what we can believe generally on this in the natural world. And so philosophy and modern scholarship generally doesn't agree that there is or that we can know the supernatural. So therefore, whenever most scholars are studying the historical Jesus, they're obviously not going to be open or consider the supernatural within the historical Jesus studies. And so it's reductionistic. It reduces Jesus to whatever the intellectual paradigm of the time is. But what Bauckham's saying when he says trusting testimony is not an irrational act of faith that leans leaves critical rationality aside. It is, on the contrary, the rationally appropriate way of responding to authentic testimony. So Bauckham is saying that we can give evidence that Jesus did miracles and died and rose again. We can actually give testimony to this, and it's actually appropriate to believe this testimony, because actually believing testimony is a rational thing to do. We do it all the time in scientific inquiry. We have to believe people's testimony. In the law courts, we have to believe people's testimony. In the reconstruction of history, we have to believe testimony. Eyewitness testimony is central to the way we know things. What do you think?